Hi everyone, it's Darsie Bruno for JustRite Papercraft, and they have recently released 3 new dies. This is Vintage Filigree Layers designed by Amazing Paper Grace Becca Feakin, which includes 2 dies. Next is Vintage Labels 9 with 4 dies. And Vintage Labels 8 with 4 dies. Today for Tutorial Tuesday, I'll be showing you how to create pretty frames with the new dies. We'll start with Vintage Labels 8. You can create quite a few different frames with this set by simply setting a smaller die instead of a larger one. Try different combinations to achieve a variety of frames. For our first card, place die number 1 inside of number 2, with number 1 being the smallest, and cut emboss with your machine. To enhance your frame, leave the die cuts in the die and stencil ink onto the exposed portions with a sponge dauber. To make a larger frame, use die number 3 inside of die number 4 and cut and emboss. Save the extra pieces for another card. Shade the outside and inside edges of your frame with a darker ink using a sponge dauber. Add foam squares to the back of the frame. Prepare a card using the cornflower damask background stamp and add glue to the frame and apply it to your card. Add the sentiment frame, a bow, and a flower, and you are done. The next die we'll use is Vintage Labels 9. I'll be using die number 3 inside of die number 4 and cutting pattern paper with my machine. You'll cut 2 frames for this card. You'll save the leftover piece for another card. For our sentiment piece, we'll cut die number 1 and number 2 from white cardstock and then stencil with purple ink using a sponge dauber. For a different look, we are going to alter one of the frames. Overlap both frames on your card and cut off a portion on the left frame. Tuck the ends under the right frame and glue to your card. I colored my flower from Birthday Floral Vintage Labels 8 using the baby oil technique from my last video. Add the flower and sentiments to your card and finish with a bow and pearls. Cutting portions from the frames gives you a variety of options. Vintage Filigree Layers is a pretty die set with 2 dies. JustRite illustrates on their website 4 die cuts, so let's see how they are created with just the 2 dies. When you cut the large die, you automatically get 2 die cut pieces. You'll cut the second die for a small tag. Cut the large die again and save the filigree portion for another card. Layer the second die on top of the inside piece and cut. Now you see how you can get 4 die cuts from 2 dies. To make the last card, cut one of the large die using blue cardstock and stencil with green ink using a sponge dauber. Use Spellbinder's Tool-in-One to remove the waste pieces. Cut 2 more of the large die from ivory cardstock. To achieve a shadow effect, add glue to the back of the blue die cut and add an ivory die cut. Slightly shift the ivory die cut to the left to get a small border around the blue. Repeat with the other ivory die cut, but shift that one slightly to the right. As you can see, you have a 3-dimensional look with this technique. Prepare a card and add your frame, your sentiment piece, a bow, and pearls, and you are done. These 3 die sets are a must-have for your die cut collection with their endless possibilities.